Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this is going to be episode 81 for you guys today. This is going to be a solo episode, just your host only. Of course, this episode will be coming on all four of our platforms, our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. So let's go ahead and dive into episode 81. Since we are 3 weeks away from the NFL playoffs, the regular season will end in the next 3 weeks. I decided to go ahead and jump the gun here and talk about the NFL playoffs. So today in this first segment, I'm going to talk about what I believe was the greatest NFL playoff run in NFL history. Now, this was a toss-up between the team that I'm about to mention and the 2007 New York Giants football team. My co-host Rob Sarasulo, his team, he is a New York Giants fan. That run was one of the best runs in NFL history, how they were underdogs and then went into the Super Bowl and dethroned the undefeated 16-0 New England Patriots. They got the job done. Eli Manning won his first ring. Tom Coughlin won his first ring as an NFL head coach. That was a great NFL run. But nothing to me matches this run more than what's going to make you guys happy watching and listening. Very excited since I do record and reside in the DMV area. I believe that the 2012 Baltimore Ravens playoff run is the greatest playoff run in NFL history. Back 10 years ago, it seems like a long time from now, but this playoff run was really, really special. The Baltimore Ravens came in as the fourth seed into this playoffs. As the fourth seed, they were the new AFC North champions. They came into the playoffs as the fourth seed. They ran through a tremendous gauntlet to win that Super Bowl in the 2012-2013 NFL playoffs. First round, they beat a well-rounded Indianapolis Colts team, coached by at the time, a really good coach, and Chuck Pagano. They beat the Indianapolis and rookie sensational quarterback Andrew Luck, who was labeled as a generational talent when he first came into the NFL, led by a rookie team Andrew Luck. They beat them in dominating fashion in the first round of the playoffs in the wild card matchup, 24-9 at home. This would be Ray Lewis's final home game at the M&T Bank Stadium with the Baltimore Ravens. It was an emotional ride. It was an emotional game, and they got the job done in dominating fashion. Then you move on to the next week where the odds were definitely stacked against them when they went on the road in Denver, Colorado to play the Denver Broncos. They beat the number one seeded Denver Broncos that year, they were a 13-3 team led by Peyton Manning, his first year with the Denver Broncos, which I believe was the greatest game that I ever watched in NFL history from my time ever watching football. This was a really, really great game. If you guys haven't watched that game, if you guys were living under a rock 10 years ago, go ahead and check out that game. That game was truly special. The Baltimore Ravens knocked off the Denver Broncos in double overtime, winning that game 38-35. It was the mile-high miracle that was officially completed that night in the second round of the NFL playoffs. The Joe Flacco touchdown pass to Jacoby Jones at towards the end of regulation with 40 to 30 seconds left on the clock. That touchdown pass was truly amazing. I think that's one of the most clutch moments that I have seen from a NFL quarterback in playoff history. That throw was on the money right there. That throw from Joe Flacco to Jacoby Jones, and that would officially set up a win for the Baltimore Ravens that would come in double overtime. Again, I believe that is the greatest NFL game that I ever witnessed as an NFL fan. That game is truly still special to think about in this time of day. And they went on in the AFC Championship to beat the number 2 seeded New England Patriots, which would be a revenge game. The two teams played a year prior in the AFC Championship game when they played against each other. The Baltimore Ravens were down by 3, had a chance to go to overtime when Billy Cundiff missed a kick that should have been nailed. Missed it and ended up, that's the end of Billy Cundiff. And then we were talking about Justin Tucker, who is one of the greatest kickers in NFL history, that would join the Baltimore Ravens a year later. Well, a year later, they also went on the road and dethroned the New England Patriots 28-13 on the road, overcoming that devastating loss, which could have helped them get to the Super Bowl a year prior. And maybe in this segment, I could be talking about the glorious run that the Ravens had winning back-to-back Super Bowl championships in 2011 and 2012. That wasn't the case due to the Billy Cundiff kick. The world may never know what would have happened in overtime. But they overcame that game, which would set them up to go to the Super Bowl to play a red-hot San Francisco 49ers team. They beat the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl 34-31. That team was led at the beginning of the season by Alex Smith. Alex Smith got injured, and that is when we see the emergence of Colin Kaepernick. He took over his spot. And then Colin Kaepernick went on to beat the Green Bay Packers in the second round of the playoffs. Then he went on to beat a great Atlanta Falcons team in the NFC Championship. That team was truly special. They had Colin Kaepernick. They had a Frank Gore in his prime, one of the best running backs of all time. You had, who else? Oh, Patrick Willis at the linebacker position. That team was loaded back then. Michael Crabtree at the wide receiver position. That was a special San Francisco 49ers team. The Baltimore Ravens dethroned them in the Super Bowl to win that game 34-31. We saw the first ever Super Bowl matchup of brother versus brother at the coaching department when we seen Jim Harbaugh take on his brother John Harbaugh. Of course, John Harbaugh got the best of his brother Jim in the Super Bowl. And the lights went out. Who could ever forget the lights going out? And when Beyonce was up at the halftime show performing in New Orleans at that stadium, the lights went out, and we nearly seen the Baltimore Ravens, who was cruising to a Super Bowl, nearly blow a 22-point lead. Kudos to that defense for pulling it together, and the whole entire team, I should say, pulling that together, not crumbling when it matters most, and bringing the Baltimore Ravens their second championship in franchise history. Now, like I said, that was the best run in NFL postseason history to me. And it was the run that really set up the end of the era for the Baltimore Ravens at that particular time as we knew it. We know at the end of the season there was a lot of things that was going to happen. Joe Flacco was obviously set to become a free agent at the end of that season. Joe Flacco had one of the greatest playoff runs in NFL history, especially at the quarterback position. Did not throw an interception that entire postseason game. When you look at the games that he won, like I just said, he beat Andrew Luck. He beat Peyton Manning on the road. He beat Tom Brady on the road in the AFC Championship game. And he beat a red-hot San Francisco 49ers team. You can't debate about Joe Flacco not having one of the greatest playoff runs in NFL history. And that would lead him to getting a massive 6-year contract at the time, which that contract led to a lot of things going downward, for the Ravens going in a downward spiral, trying to keep players and the team being at the top of the NFL. So we've seen Joe Flacco get his massive 6-year contract. We've seen Ray Lewis, who officially retired, walked off. That's the greatest way to ever retire from a sport. You win a championship, you ride off at the top of the mountain, and then you ride off into the sunset. Ray Lewis did that. I believe he's one of the best defensive players in NFL history. I believe he's one of the best linebackers in NFL history. Ray Lewis walked up into the sunset. We'd seen Ed Reed not finish his career with the Baltimore Ravens. That NFL offseason, he actually decided to sign a 3-year deal to go to the Houston Texans. Well, he didn't even play for the Houston Texans. Ended up, during the preseason, got into some arguments with some coaches and ended up being on the New York Jets by the time the new season started. So that's what happened with Ed Reed. And then they traded Anquan Bolden, one of their best wide receivers, for a 6th-round pick. That was absolutely disgusting at the time. That was basically the downfall of the Baltimore Ravens before they picked themselves back up and are being one of the best teams in the AFC as we speak today. But again, time has really gone by as an NFL fan. That is what I believe was the best NFL run in playoff history. The 2012 Baltimore Ravens playoff run, to me, is the best in NFL history, and that should be up there in the list of conversations when you talk about teams having a special run in playoffs history.